Hello, today we are going to learn how to graph and write inequalities. So let's begin with the difference between an equation and an inequality. An equal sign means that x has just one value that is possible. X is equal to 3. So if I were to put this on a graph, the only thing that this particular alligator is interested in is the number 3. If it's not a 3, that alligator is not going to eat it, okay? It's the only one thing, okay? He's got his eyes on the 3. X is less than 3. This means that the alligator will eat anything that is less than 3. Now, that doesn't include 3, but anything else the alligator will eat. So we have to mark it as multiple solutions. A -3, alligator will eat it. 0, alligator will eat it. 2.9, alligator will eat it. Okay. For our next alligator, he is interested in anything that is less than or equal to 3. So this alligator is even less picky. Not only will he eat anything that is less than 3, so all of these numbers, but it'll also eat the number 3 itself. So some different levels of picky alligators. Let's take a look at how we're going to graph these two values and the difference between greater than and greater than or equal to. Okay? So let's say that you have greater than $1, okay? Could you have $2? Sure you could. You could have $2. If you have greater than $1, could you have $2 and $3.50? Sure could, $3.50. Could you have $5? Sure. Any number that is above $1 is a value you could have. Eventually, you have so many dots right next to each other that it just becomes a line. All of these values are greater than $1. It's a possible amount you have. Now, if you have greater than $1, could you have $1? No. I can't have $1. If it's greater than $1, that means that's not bigger than it. It's equal to. So to indicate that it could come all the way up close to the number 1, but not equal 1, we leave it open. Whereas greater than or equal to $1, same thing. Because it's greater than $1, you can still have $2. You could have $3.50. You could have $4, $2.75. Any number that's above 1 is greater than $1. But in this case, the or equal to symbols means not only could it be greater than 1, but the number 1 itself is also acceptable. So we fill it in to indicate that it can come up to and touch the 1. So less than or greater than, it can get close, but it can't actually equal that value. Greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, it comes up too close and can equal that value. So we fill it in. So let's take a look at our symbols. Remember about the alligator mouth? This is the greater than alligator mouth, okay? Both of these signs mean greater than. Greater. And this is greater or equal to. Greater or equal, okay? Now, one thing that really helps me when I'm trying to remember which way to point this when I'm trying to graph it is these signs are, if you think of them as an arrow, are pointing in the direction that they want you to graph. So if I think of this as an arrow, it's pointing up, the bigger numbers. So this is the exact same sign I would use, up. So if I am greater than 0, I would start here and go up. The way I remember the circle is if there's nothing at the bottom, nothing's filled in. If there's something extra at the bottom, then we have to put something extra in the sign. Filled in, greater than or equal to. Nothing at the bottom, nothing in the circle. Something at the bottom, something in the circle. So this would be greater than 0, but not equal to 0. And this would be greater than 0 or equal to 0. Let's look at the less than symbols. This is the less than alligator, and he looks very similar, but he's facing a different direction. This is less than. I remember the difference between the greater than and the less than symbols because this one kind of looks like an L. So the one that's facing the correct way for an L is less than. If it's facing the wrong way, it's greater than. So less than for L. And just like the greater than symbols, they show you which way to draw your arrow. If they're pointing towards the direction that you should draw your arrow. Both of them are pointing down the number line. So here's 0. My lines are going to go down. 0. My line's going down. Notice it even has at the end of the arrow the same sign. It has the less than symbol. The front, this little arrow makes the less than symbol. Now this one has nothing at the bottom. So for less than, nothing at the bottom, that's right, open circle. Less than 0, not equal to. For this one, less or equal, something extra at the bottom, that means something extra in the circle. Gotta fill it in. So, less than or equal to 0. So check which way it's facing. The arrow itself tells you whether it should go up or down. And then if there's something at the bottom, you fill it in. If there's nothing at the bottom, there's nothing in the circle. So let's try a couple of examples. Here I've got x is greater than 4. The first thing I always want to do is start by finding the value. Okay, here's 4. Now I need to decide which I'm going to have, an open circle or a closed circle. There's nothing in the bottom, so there's nothing in the circle. So I'm going to have an open circle at 4. That means it's x is greater than 4, not equal to. Now let's see which way it's pointing. The arrow is pointing in this direction. So I'm going to go up, greater than or equal to 4. Let's take a look at the next one. X is less than or equal to 8. So first we find the number. Here's 8. Then we look and see open or closed circle. Is there something at the bottom? Yep, so there's something in the circle. Something in the circle. Closed circle or equal to. Now which way is the arrow going? It's pointing down. I can even make this into an arrow, pointing down. So my graph needs to go down. All of these values are possible solutions. Why don't you try these next two on your own? So hopefully you found -2. You looked and said nothing at the bottom, so nothing in the circle. And then you made this and you looked at it like an arrow that was pointing down. For this one, you might have gotten a little bit stuck. This one's a little weird. What's different about it? If you said, hey, the x is on the wrong side, you are correct. So, what you're going to do is check and see if the variable's first. If it's not first, you need to rewrite it with the mouth open to the same part. So 3 is greater than or equal to x turns into x with a 3 at the end. And since the alligator's mouth is open to the 3, I need to make sure that alligator's mouth stays open to the 3. And since it's or equal to, it stays or equal to. So start with by writing your x, then write the number and decide which way the mouth has to open to stay open to the same value. In this case, alligator mouth was open to 3, alligator mouth has to stay open to 3. Once I know that the x is at the front, it makes it a lot easier to graph. X is less than or equal to 3. So here's 3. X is going to be less than or equal to. So close dots, something extra at the bottom, going down. Why don't you try this example? -4 is less than x turns into, remember, you're going to put the number and then think about which way the mouth has to open. Right now the mouth is open to the x. So the mouth has to stay open to the x. If I graph it, it's here, open circle, nothing under, so there, greater than -4. So check if the variable's first. If not, rewrite it with the mouth open to the same part.